Hi, I downloaded your logo file and I'm going to bring it into Illustrator, but I wanted to show you that this is the one that you sent me, and what I did was I created a larger sketch right here of it. I mean, I just enlarged the PDF, right? And I took a screenshot of the three that you had circled. By looking at this from a layperson's point of view, the bottom H is wonderful. It really reads as an H. This one up here reads as a backwards N, but I love the J. So in my estimation, and it'll be easy to do, I'm gonna suggest that you use the H from the bottom with that wonderful loop that you have here as it joins into the J, and then just have it join into this J, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. You, of course, are the boss, and you can do anything you want, but I'm going to open the Illustrator file because I placed that image in Illustrator. You can see it. It's on a reference layer. Okay, and what I'm going to do is select the item and opacity it back. There's two ways to opacity back an image. You can actually dim the whole layer. So if I double click in the parent layer, see how there's a dim image, and I can dim it to 30, 40, 50%, and you can see how that'll allow me to really use your artwork but see what I'm doing. I might even dim it even further by just going like this and taking it to maybe 30%, because I really don't need to see that a whole bunch. And I can lock it. Now I can go select an art layer, which I just made a new layer. So I've locked that other thing. So let's just take the H from here, and I'm going to just use a straight stroke, and then I'm going to show you with the shape width tool how amazing you can actually make a stroke thick and thin, and to simulate, see how in this J, see how your line gets thicker as it goes around the curve here. Well, we can do that, but I'm going to just do the H, and I'm going to sweeten this curve over here. So you take your P key, you remove the fill, and on the stroke, it doesn't matter really what color you're using on the stroke. Remember, in Illustrator, when I double click the layer, there's a selection color, which I'll make as blue, and then the stroke color I'll make as black. And if it doesn't read, we'll figure it out. But so I'm going to start with a 1-point line. Okay, so I'm just going to take and make as little amount of points as I need here, just to come close like this. Now I'll come around that curve. Then I'll sweep that back up. Remember, the least amount of points you have in a line like this, look at how I can simulate that, the better and the sweeter the curve. So now this handlebar down here, right there that I'm drawing, and all I did to do this whole thing was click and pull. Well, I need to make sure I hit the A key for the direct selection tool, then back to the P key, so that if I hold Command or Control, the toggle is the direct selection, and I can make that handlebar be shorter. Why? Because I want to just keep on going on that point and come around it. Whoops, I have to rejoin back in that point. So I'm going to come like this and rejoin back in. Now I'm going to come like this and just sweeten that curve just a little bit like this. Come around like this, which is a sweet curve. And I like how you go from thin to a thick H back to a thin part here, and we'll simulate that. So look at how I can drag over here. Now I want to pull out a new handlebar. There's, I could have used the direct selection tool and shortened it, but this works too. Then I'll come around like this, and you can see how I can pull and sweeten that curve. Then I'll come around this whole thing like this. Then I'll join in, and I'll leave it just a little bit short right there, and there is my H. So let's take now and go up here and do the J. So in the J, let's just start with this part of the J, and I'll come down like this. We'll take it like that. I'm just pulling. I'll go right to the edge here and pull that handlebar. And now if I come back over here, you can see how I can really simulate that curve and get that to be really beautiful. And then just yank this across here. Now this came out a little too far in my opinion, so I'm going to take my Command or Control key, hold it down, and lessen that curve. and come around like this, and that doesn't hurt anything. Now if I keep my finger on Command or Control, I can click this point to see the handlebar and pull it down. Whoops, I missed it. And pull it down just a little bit farther to custom fit that line a little bit. Now I'll join back in this point by just going in the point with the pen tool and pulling out that handlebar, and then we'll come over here, and that's where I think that this part of the stroke here should get thinner. Now how do you do all this? Well, let's take this J right here. So I'm going to take the A key and marquee around that J, and then I'm going to put it down here near this one, and we'll custom fit it. So you see here how I can easily custom fit that, and that looks really nice. It's just missing right there, which I think is a really good thing. Now I'll turn off the reference. Okay, just turn it off. And now I can lift up this one just a little bit more. Now I can actually hold Alt or Option, watch this, and pull out a, whoops, I can hold Alt or Option. Oh, I have to be in the P key. I'm sorry. Let me Control Z back. So if I'm in the P key and I hold Alt or Option, I can change the direction of that handlebar. And I can come like this. Now, the reason I did that is because I want to take that handlebar and line it up to this. Now, if I hold Option or Alt, I can join back in this, and do you see how I've made a really sweet line? Now watch this. I'm going to take this point away just by holding the pen over here and just taking it away. Now we've got the least amount of points to work with. Now I don't want to ruin this because it's a beautiful H and J, so if I stay in the direct selection tool and hold Alt or Option, you can see how I can make a duplicate and just leave it over there. Now let's take and make this sweet. Okay, so what do I mean? So let's take this black, and for the sake of just trying to see the selection line in it, I'm going to change the color, and I'll figure out a good color to work with that works. It's not going to be pink all the time. Okay, obviously I'm going to make it black when I'm done, but do you understand? I just wanted to see the blue selection points within the lettering. So now, if I just up this to about 2 points here, there's something called the Shape Width tool. And it's a Shift W. So right there, it's the Width tool, and I'm going to click it. Now, watch how I'm going to move this over, because I want to look at your hand. I want to look at your reference. So I'm going to open the art layer and turn off this path up here and lock it. It's a safe one. And I'm going to turn back on the reference so I can kind of look at your line and your artwork and see where you got thicker and thinner. Maybe I'm going to put this one up here because I like how that one, I'm going to move this up here. So I'm just going to grab the direct select tool before I go to the Shape Width tool and put that up here so I have it closer to that one, so I have them both on the screen. Now, Shape Width tool. I'm going to have to get close on it. So the Shape Width tool is right there. Now how that works is we'll start here and we'll just make it thicker and thinner. Now the Shape Width tool leaves markers. As soon as I hold it over this stroke line, can you see it? Let me make this black now so you see it really good. And that's, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Well, I could do it this way. I'll just do it this way. Okay, let me close that and now say okay. Now, do you see that marker right there? So what I want to do is memorize this width here. So what do? You click and you pull out the width. Now, if I wanted to, I could go up here and thin down that width, okay, or widen it a little bit. Now, let's just start with this. Okay, so if I come around to the bottom, it looks like both of these, and I'm going to hold the Command key and just click that one point and just move it over just a little bit, just to widen it just a little bit right there. Now in the Shape Width tool, look at how I can take this and widen this. Now I have to kind of fix that bottom curve, and let's widen this. Okay, now we have something bad happening down here, but I'll be able to fix it. I should probably move that apart a little bit just so I don't have that. I want that to stay as a curve right there, but I can thin that down in a few minutes. Okay, so here I want to do the same thing. I want to widen this with the shape width tool. So this is just a little game that you can play, and you can see how I can widen that, but you can see that when I do that, it kind of gets a little bit funky. Watch, I'll show you. See how that curves a little bit too much inside of itself right there? So I'm going to thin this one down. Let's just thin this one down and then thicken this one up a little bit. And then we can custom fit this. Okay, so now let's get a little bit wider right there. Okay, that's really pretty. And now it wants to get wider over here, so let's go like this and get wider over here. Now the reason why, let me Command Z back. See how there's no, what I need to do is to only widen this point. So I'm gonna Control Z back, and I have to show you something. So if I click on the stroke like this, and all the points are open, then in the shape width tool, I'll only be playing with that point. Do you see what I'm saying? Well, they're all moving there. That's okay. I'm going to thin this one down a little bit, and now let's thicken that one up a little bit, because that's really, whoops, I want to go back in that same point and go to here and then thicken that up a little bit. Now let's get back on it. Okay, now you, of course, can do anything you want. But now let's go over to the J, and I'll there's some things that need to be done here. Like I think that this needs to widen here. Let me look at your reference. Actually, that's where the thinness is, so I'm wrong. This needs to widen here. So let's widen this one. Let's widen this one. And let's come back and widen this one. And now let me look at that H over there, and then I'm not going to have that go to a point. Let's have that kind of go to like this for now. Okay, like your stroke is there, and we're going to do something fun there, but just wanted you to see so far what we've done. Now let me widen this a little bit, and then I'm not going to worry about that crease there. Now let me look over at your reference. Okay, this is a game that you have to play. This part of the J wants to widen big time right there, and then this part over here, if I click, wants to thin down. So this part wants to widen a little bit like that, and that looks really good. Let's make this one even wider right there, and then we'll move that away from the H, and let me go down and look at that H. Okay, so in the H, let me look again. It goes thick, thin, and then back to thick. So we have thick, thin, and then this part of the H definitely wants to widen so that people read it as an H. So let's widen that. And now let's look at this. Okay, so that's reading as an H so far. Let's even widen this a little bit. Okay. Now we'll play with that when it gets, or I'll play with that when it gets into this. So obviously you're going to do this yourself. This part wants to widen just a little bit right there. And then let me look at the J over there. Okay, this wants to widen up here, and we're going to have to play a little funny game there because it's getting a little wonky right there. Okay, but that looks okay. Because there's a whole nother step we have to do here, and let's widen this part of the J. Look over here, so that stays pretty consistently wide right there, about right there. And I like how this is actually thinning down here, but we're going to thin it down in a little bit of a custom way. So there's your HJ so far. Okay, that comes up, okay, that curls around here. That could get a little thicker and thinner. So this part, let me think for a second. This upper part of the H wants to stay wide, in my opinion. This part might want to get thinner. So I'm going to grab this and thin it back down before I move to the next step. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. Now, And it still needs some custom fitting, okay? And that's what we did for when you saw hopefully that other tear sheet. And I'm going to move that apart. So now that we have that done, now that you will agree that that took a while, right? Okay, so we now need to truly custom fit this. Now that got too thick right there. So before I go any farther, let me hit the shape width tool again. Let's grab this and thin this down right here. And now that looks pretty good. Let me go like this. I'm looking at this bottom one. Maybe it's a little too thick right now, right here. So let's take this and, whoops. Let's take this and I'm going to Control Z back and do it with this one. Let's thin it down just a little bit more. And there we go. So now I take the regular selection tool, hold the Option key to make another duplicate and put it up here so that I don't ruin what I've already done. You always make duplicates. Now here's how you do this. So we have a single stroke here, correct? All right. What we want to do is convert it to an outline path. So we want to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. Now it's a fill, but do you see where the fills cross each other? So now we have to custom fit it. So you go to Window and Pathfinder where that can unite. This upper one on the left, watch what happens to this section here, this section here, and this section here, and that one there. When I unite it, it becomes one path that can be easily manipulated. Now, we have a few too many points on this, in my opinion, to work with. So let's go to Object, Path, and Simplify. Now that'll take the number of points and detract it. Okay, so I don't know if you saw that, but let me Control Z back. See all those points that are there? If I go to Object, Path, and Simplify, immediately I'm going to lose most of those points, which it didn't hurt the artwork at all. So now I can take this and now we can custom fit it. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we have to just get close on things. Look, I can move this up. Watch what I can do with this handlebar. I can grab, whoops, now that handlebar is actually connected to the other handlebar. Okay, I'm going to make it go like this. See how those two handlebars, you can see that one right there, Hannah? It's connected. If I hit the P key and hold the Alt or Option key, I can split those handlebars apart again. And that was the key to understanding, well, let me just say it, anchor points. And I'm going to make that parallel. And now you can see how I rounded that curve off. Let's click on the outer curve and let's take the handlebar and just keep it away from the J, but not too far away. Now, see how we custom fit that and made it really beautiful? We have a same problem over here. This one is probably going to have connected handlebars. So, oh, well, it doesn't, but it might when I grab it. Okay, yes, it does. See how it's connected? Don't panic with that. Just take your P key, hold Alt or Option for the anchor point tool, and you can split the handlebars. Now, I'm going to take my A key, click that point, that's the direct selection tool, and do you see how I can fix that curve right here? Now that curve is sweet. Now, obviously, that needs to come up a little bit here, and let's now look at your artwork and see where this wants to thin down. I think this wants to thin down up here. So if I pull this one up and pull this one up and whoops, and pull this one over, now I'm getting it thinner on top, and that looks pretty good right there. And now let's even bring this a little closer this way and then pull this a little bit more that way, and then go up just a little bit with this one to get a really custom fit here and a really nice curve. I call it geometry, but a really nice curve. Let's get close and pull this up. Okay, that looks good. Now that needs to pull up here to line it up. And then let's go over here. Let's pull this one way over like this. make sure that this and this here, see how this line that I'm actually kind of drawing looks good? And now I can pull this handlebar up and thin that down. Now obviously it can't be thin on this side and thick on that side, so I'm going to have to do something about that. So this needs to pull up, but not too far. Now all I have to do is take the P key and add a pen point right there. Now if I add that pen point, all I have to do is grab the direct selection tool, pull it up like this, and then I can get that to really work if I play, whoops, if I play, and that one little handlebar right there is going to be a problem. So watch what happens. I have to be in the pen tool, hold Alt or Option, and you can see how I can do that without it freaking out. Now let me Control Z back and show you without holding Alt or Option what it does. Look at how that's going to get all weird like this. So if I Control Z back, be in the pen tool, hold the Alt or Option key, I can just fix that right there. And now that looks a lot better. Okay, that looks great. Now, there's a kind of a funny little bubble right there. Let's fix that funny little bubble by going like this, by going like that. And believe me, this is what it takes to do a really nice logo. There's another one that's connected. That's an error in Illustrator right there where the handlebars are connected. So now you should know how to get rid of that. You take the P key, you hold Alt or Option, and you can separate that one, which goes on top. Believe it or not, if I go to the direct selection tool, now that I've split the handlebars, this one was for the bottom one. This one was for the top one, meaning the upper curve. Now I've got it there. I'm going to smooth that out. I know this is a lot of work, but knowing Illustrator is an amazing skill. So now let's go in like this and make sure that that handlebar, this one and this one are parallel. And now that looks good. That H looks really good. I even like this little thing that's happening on top right there of that H. And now let's take this and just kind of custom fit it. Meaning either this goes up like that, and that looks, I think that looks great. And on this one, watch how I can take this one and now move it out like this. So that has a little flare right at the end, right there. And this just wants to get a little thicker right there. So I'm going to click on this one and let's pull it up like this. You can see how easy it is to do that. And now I think that that looks pretty good. Let's look at your J over there. That looks good. That curls to a point. That comes around. That's a nice curve. This one could be a little lower right there. This one right there could be a little lower. So if I pull that handlebar like this and pull that handlebar like this, I think that looks better, a lot better. Now, I'm going to fix this one. That handlebar is pretty much in the wrong place. So if I go like this, you can see how I can make it like that. Now let's just scooch it over, shorten the handlebar a little bit like this, and shorten the handlebar a little bit like this. Now that looks better. And it just needs to be moved over just a little bit and up. There we go. And now this just needs to be tweaked a little bit like that. And now I'm going to save the file. And there is your HJ, which, you know, obviously you're the boss and you know what you want to do here. That could be moved up a little bit. That would be cool. And now there is your HJ. Now I'm going to give you this file, this AI file, plus the screenshot, meaning when I give you an Illustrator file that has a piece of reference in it, I'm going to go to the window and the links palette, and I'm going to show you that I need to include the Hannah Jennings pic.jpg when I send it to you. So put both of them in a folder and we can go from there. Okay, and maybe now that I'm looking at this, for this to actually be that part of the H that means something, you know what I'm saying? So let's take both of these points. I'm going to shift click both of these points and move it down because, and here's the because, I think that needs to be a little bit more bold to really read. Whoops, look at how funny that was. That was weird. Okay, this is another one of those things that have connected handlebars. I'm so sorry for this, but how do you get rid of it? You hit the P key. Now I selected that point right there with the direct selection tool, but I have to switch to the pen tool and hold Alt or Option to actually split that handlebar like this. That's not my fault. That's Illustrator's got a little error in how it's trying or thinking that I want to manipulate the points. Now that looks pretty good. That reads as a bottom. That could get a little thicker even. Honestly, that could get a little thicker. Although it's pretty good. I could pull this point up a little bit, and I could pull this point down a little bit like this, just to get that middle H part to be a little thicker. And then this could actually, both of these, this one could go down, this one could go over, and then I can pull that handlebar a little bit like that, and look and see, oh, that one needs to come up. Oh, it happened again. Okay, I'll show you again how to fix it. You get the A key and you click the point. You now can see that there's two connected handlebars right here. Actually, there's not. I just need to split this handlebar. So how do you split it? You hit the P key, you hold Alt or Option, you grab it, and you just put it back where it's supposed to be, and then you switch back to the direct selection tool. Sorry about that, but that's sometimes Illustrator does weird things and you have to kind of watch things, okay? I could tweak this all day. This could with the direct selection tool, this could come up a little bit like that and get a little bit more classy right there. And there is a cool HJ. So, sorry for that long demonstration, but I'm going to give you this and we can go from there. Okay, thank you.